Sheen Shot.
Yeah, boy.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Sheen Shots channel. We are here to talk about one-handed swords in Outward. Now, there are a lot of different swords in this game, and all of them serve a pretty important purpose for the most part. However, there has to be one that stands out among the rest, right? I think I know which sword this is, and to properly explain my decision, I will be covering the top 5 one-handed swords in Outward. I will be making these placement decisions based on personal experience with the items, as well as how usable they are with different build types. Let's jump right in and find out, once and for all, which sword is the best. Sitting at number 5, we have the Cerulean Saber. You will need to loot a steel saber from banditos in the desert and throw it into a legacy chest. After this, you will have a sleek-looking sword that has nice damage and impact with a good attack speed. Overall, however, this sword does not look that crazy or anything. The real reason it is so powerful, as I'm sure many of you already know, is it can be enchanted with the Rainbow Hex to apply the 5 main hexes upon hitting the enemy around 5 times. It also gains 0.1 attack speed, making it extremely quick, which allows you to more easily avoid attacks. This enchantment is one of the strongest upgrades in the game, as it lets you use very little mana and then blast away the enemy. Most high-level hex builds use this, and it really is as good as it sounds. Maybe not the strongest sword all on its own, but it definitely deserves a spot on this list, as many Outward players enjoy using it. I find that the sword also has a more pirate-like appeal to it, making it more unique than most other swords. The Cerulean Saber is S tier when used correctly, and for that reason, it is the 5th best sword in Outward. Our 4th place spot has to go to the Radiant Wolf Sword. You can only get this Beacon of Light by taking the Holy Mission faction quest and failing the negotiations with the priests and the Lotus Flower. This step is around the 3rd quest for the faction, and sadly, requires you to miss out on some other rewards. But upon doing this, you get a very bright sword that deals pure lightning damage while still having nice impact and attack speed. When paired with decent lightning bonuses, this glow stick shreds enemy health bars, and the Scourge might as well be mere ants under your boot. It's one of the more fun weapons to use since it looks very cool and allows for more unique builds. No physical damage means you can go full on into lightning, and this makes it pair very well for mages. Specifically, a mage that uses Lightning Sigil and the Lightmender's Backpack. You can almost turn yourself into the Gold Lich by using this, and with the new Will-O-Wisp shield, I have no doubt it is extremely powerful. The only downside with the Radiant Wolf Sword is it is weak against lightning enemies, such as the Gold Lich himself and the minions in the Spire of Light. They take hardly any damage because you have no physical attacks as backup. You also miss out on a pretty great weather defense skill if you want this, and no candleplate boots or chestplate. So while it is one of the better weapons in Outward, they make you sacrifice for the extra power. 4th place is all I can give it. The 3rd best one-handed sword in Outward has to be Maelstrom Blade. This is a boss weapon that can only be crafted after gathering various ingredients from unique boss arenas. I have to say that this is the best looking sword in the game. It has a dark aura around it that gives it a look of darkness and power. Carrying this around makes your build look awesome, and the curved blade is a nice touch. On top of this, it deals a lot of physical damage and impact with a fast attack speed. The real reason for it being on this list, however, is that it applies confusion. This makes your enemies very weak to being knocked back and is ridiculous in a dagger build. Using your action skill called Puncture lets you apply pain and confusion while using the Maelstrom Blade, and is just so strong for Opportunist Strike users. Unfortunately, the cool look of the sword and applying confusion can't bump this guy up to the number 1 spot, as it has some major drawbacks. You can really only utilize it best with a dagger build, so it forces you into that direction, sort of. It is outmatched and damaged by the Sar sword, even though it's still faster, and just applying confusion is not really that much in the end. Still a fantastic option that destroys enemies, but not the best overall. Maelstrom Blade is freaking sick, and top-notch for a lot of reasons. But I'm sorry to say, it too isn't the best sword in Outward. So which sword is the second best sword in Outward? That would be Gep's Blade. This mad lad is the fastest weapon in the game and does a huge AoE explosion upon impact that deals ethereal damage. This type of damage is the one element that most enemies have zero defense to. It can attack multiple groups of enemies at one time and pretty much goes through shields that human opponents can use. You get it over in Caldera by checking 5 spots it can spawn in, giving you a unique and interesting task to acquire it. Craft it with 3 Gep's Drink and you have a truly powerful weapon. Now you might be thinking, well, why is this one not the best sword if you make it sound so strong? This is because it is a Caldera unique weapon, and all of them have drawbacks. Gep's Blade makes you negative 30% less resistant to ethereal damage. So while it is insanely powerful, it is useless against the Ancient Dwellers and other ethereal resistant enemies. In fact, fighting an Ancient Dweller with Gep's Blade is practically suicide. Don't let this stop you from using it though, as golems and constructs are very weak to ethereal, letting you bully them around with this sword. Gep's Blade truly is a demon to those you go up against, and there probably isn't anything more fun than blasting monsters with purple explosions. However, it just isn't as easy to buff ethereal damage as it is for other elements, and that negative 30% resistance hurts a lot. So no first place for the great Gep's Blade. Now I'm pretty sure you can guess which sword gets the number 1 spot, as it is pretty well known. Brand takes the cake. This icy blade can be crafted with the rusted sword on Conflux Mountain, and various items from other towns such as Levant, Berg, and Monsoon. It is required to fight the Brand Squire, and is a nod to 9dot's previous game, Brand, which included quite a few aspects from Outward. It deals 20 physical and frost damage, making it great for melee or mage. It also inflicts pain and chill. Pain isn't quite that good since the sword's action skill Puncture already does that, but still good to have. Chill, on the other hand, makes you deal more damage to that enemy when using frost attacks. It is possible to really buff up your cold damage and completely destroy enemies with Brand equipped. Funnily enough, it was in the original game, and is still that good. It is not difficult to get, but does require a bit of silver farming. However, in the end, you get a beautiful weapon that just feels right. And cold is another element that is not overly common for enemies to be resistant to, although not nearly in the same domain as ethereal. Brand has always been one of the better weapons in Outward, and even after Definitive Edition, I think it still stands as the number 1 sword. No drawbacks, is easy to get, and is so easy to optimize its damage. Brand truly is amazing, and pairing it with Wind Infuse is just unfair. Thanks for watching till the end, everyone. I took a long look at all the one-handed swords and tested the top 10. These 5 stood out as the best, and I feel Brand can be utilized by more builds than any of the other swords. Each of these is extremely unique and cool, so definitely try them out if you never have. Also consider leaving your top 5 one-handed swords down in the comment section, as I feel this list could differ quite a bit. Honorable mentions go to the Jade Sword and Runic Blade, as even though they didn't make the top 5, I would still use them over these with certain builds. I think overall, the list I have created is pretty valid, and the only difference anyone could make is the order of which swords I chose. It was pretty interesting to see how different these top 5 weapons really are from each other, and in the end, that is what makes Outward. Consider liking the video if you found it interesting, and I will catch you next time.